Hello everyone and welcome to the very first episode of the Undrafted Opinions podcast. My name is Doran Trailer and I'm joined here by my co-host Kilo Killian Hayward. How are you doing today, bud?
Yeah, I'm doing well, man. Fucking, are we allowed to swear? Are we allowed to swear on this?
Yeah, I suppose it's not PG, so go ahead.
I was just going to say quarantine's got me shook, so yeah, I'm ready to talk about some football, I'll be honest.
Yeah, quarantine is tough. Like the main thing about quarantine is just the whole sports industry being, grinded to a halt, and it's annoying because there's nothing else there. The draft was recently enough, which was great because it was a distraction. But other than that, I hear the Azerbaijani soccer league is still going on if you want to take bets on that, but I doubt it's the highest quality of sport. So
I didn't even know they had a league.
yeah, you wouldn't think they would, but anyway. Yeah, so what we're going to do on this podcast is just talk a little bit about football, our opinions, whether they be good or bad. Just to preface things from the start, I'm a Seattle Seahawks fan, so if there is any bias towards any Seahawks players, Russell Wilson in particular, I am a big, big fan of. Please forgive me. And Killian, I know you're a big Panthers fan, so...
Well, I don't know. I was a big Panthers fan. Things have changed. Things have changed. And you're wearing a Seahawks hat right now, man. So yeah, I see you wearing it.
I am, but they can't see that. They also can't see my terrible mustache. The weakest of weak mustaches.
Yeah, it should be fair.
Yeah. Right. So it's been a crazy, crazy off-season to this point, and it's not even over since the season haven't started.
Yeah.
But a few things that we wanted to talk about here today. You have the DeAndre Hopkins trade, which was probably the biggest first move of the off-season, and that was huge.
I think it was the biggest and the most kind of like what is going on trade in the last few years, man. Because I thought it was a fake announcement. I thought it was a meme that he got traded.
Yeah, so did I. I remember when that group chat that we have, when that was first put in the group chat, I was like, no way is this true. And then we found out later on it was true, and it was terrible, terrible value.
Oh, it's ridiculous. Just because, they didn't really have anyone else to rely on with Hopkins, and not even as well. He's the best wide receiver out there at the moment. You know what I mean? He's the only Texans player I know. So
yeah, I get.
What's their identity now at the moment? You get what I mean?
Yeah, to me, he was the most important player on that Houston team, bar Deshaun Watson, because that offense itself, it's unrecognizable without DeAndre Hopkins, because you have your secondary option is Will Fuller, and he's consistently unreliable, so he's never on the pitch because he's always injured. And then you have the third wide receiver, Kenny Stills, who they recently acquired just last season from Miami. And he's a good deep threat, but he's not your number one receiver. You're not going to pick him out every time. So when DeAndre Hopkins, if he's not on the field, I don't know how that offense is going to function. But they did acquire Brandon Cooks with a trade with the Rams, formerly of the Patriots. And while he is a good player, he's not on DeAndre Hopkins' level.
No. And I feel like Hopkins was kind of like the modern day kind of Smith, being a Panthers fan and all. You saw a bit of him in Hopkins just because he wasn't the fastest, he wasn't the best. Well, he was the best, but he wasn't that physical and all that kind of stuff. But he was able to get the ball, he was able to make moves with the ball, he was able to get yards, which is the most important thing. And he was just such a good player. I just don't understand the move. And not only that is they got him for what I would say is nothing. The trade was 100% in favor of the Cardinals.
100%.
I don't see how Texans made any sense with this.
The Texans basically gave him away for next to nothing. So we have it here. Houston got the running back, which is David Johnson. He was supposed to be this next big thing coming out a few years ago, and it just didn't pan out that way. Injuries kind of they took his toll on him, and he was poor ever since. And he was replaced by Kenyon Drake, the Miami running back that the Cardinals acquired in a trade, who recently signed a first round tender, I believe. So they got David Johnson, the running back, and a 2020 second round pick for the draft that just passed, and a 2021 fourth round pick. And in return, the Arizona Cardinals, they got DeAndre Hopkins and a 2020 fourth round pick, which was absolutely disgusting value. Disgusting.
You got to give it to them though.
Yeah, like
they went shopping and they got the best thing there.
It's a brilliant trade. But what are the Texans doing, man? Like, I'm just thinking about it now. You know, the biggest thing that came out with Hopkins, it was, oh, he wants a new contract. Well, if you're the Houston Texans, I don't know why you're not paying him. You don't have any massive salary cap issues there. There's no one standout player with, you know, a huge chunk of salary, bar maybe J.J. Watt, Whitney Merciless. And they got rid of Jadeveon Clowney as well, so they don't have to pay him either.
Yeah. Yes, I'm not surprised, I'm not surprised why the Cardinals would went for him, because who do they have? They have Kyle Murray, which, I mean, good quarterback. Like, that's a good quarterback. And then he's got a veteran in Larry Fitzgerald as well, on the pitch at the same time, or on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
That's going to be crazy, man. That's going to be exciting.
It will. And, you know, Larry Fitz is getting older. So, you know, there was questions this season of whether he was actually going to hang it up and retire at the end of the season. He hasn't. I think he signed a 2-year extension. But, you know, just the influence of having Larry Fitzgerald still on that team, having, I think it's Christian Kirk as well, and now having DeAndre Hopkins, one of the most physical receivers in the league.
Yeah.
Like, they are loaded on offense in terms of receiving weapons anyway.
Man, and I know for a fact that, like, Larry Fitzgerald, man, he needs a ring. Like, he has to get a ring at some point, man. Like, I really want him to get one. And I'm really happy that they made this move. Like, I'm not a Cardinals fan, like, by any means.
Yeah.
But, like, I recognize Fitzgerald a lot. So the Hopkins trade made me kind of happy, but it was like I was just dumbfounded at the same time, man.
Yeah,
but
like, everyone
Cardinals next season, here we go.
Yeah, everyone wants to see, you know, the legends get a ring, no matter... Like, I'm a Seahawks fan, and, you know, I'm not supposed to like the Cardinals, but you can't not help but like Larry Fitzgerald. It would be the same with, you know, Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers has never won a ring, but everyone kind of wants to see him win a ring. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah.
Just a likable guy, and, you know, you want to see his career rewarded within the right way. Same with Dan Marino when he retired. You know, it was Dan Marino, one of the best quarterbacks ever, recognized on the all-time team. He never won a ring, and, you know, it was just sad to see. But moving back to the...
it is sad to see,
Yeah, just moving back to the Hopkins trade there. We're going to compare it to the Stephon Diggs trade. So Stephon Diggs was traded from the Minnesota Vikings to the Buffalo Bills.
Yeah.
And this was after the DeAndre Hopkins trade.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we're just going to compare, you know, the kind of hauls that the teams got for their receivers. And on face value, to me, like we already talked about how ridiculous the DeAndre Hopkins trade was in terms of the value that the Texans received.
Yeah.
Like, Hopkins was a first-round receiver in 2013. Like, that alone should have warranted a first-round pick, you know, in return.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
Yeah, like, no matter if he was played to the level that he has, which, you know, he definitely warrants a first-round pick, or even if he wasn't, you know, you've still made that long-term investment with that first-round pick. Yeah. But Stephon Diggs, I believe he was a 5th-round draft pick in the 2014 or 15 draft. Am I correct?
Yeah, I think you are. Wait, I'm trying to look at my screen where it is, but I don't know.
Yeah, I can see it here. He was 2015 5th-rounder, 146th overall, 19 receivers drafted before him, which is crazy.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
Yeah, so
he's a great player, man.
The Vikings, they got a 1st, a 5th, and a 6th-round draft pick in the draft that just passed in 2020. And they got a 2021 4th-round pick. And the Bills, you know, in return, they got their man. They got Stephon Diggs and a 2027-round draft pick.
Yeah.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. Like, it's a way bigger draft haul than what the Texans got for their receiver. And arguably...
Yeah,
you know, I would 100% say that Hopkins is better. A better receiver.
than Diggs.
Yeah, you
Better
kind
than
of froze
Diggs.
up on me there. Yeah.
Yeah, sorry, man. But yeah, what you're saying there is that he's better than Diggs. I say yeah, but Diggs had like he does have a good season as well. Like what was it last season? He got a 1,000 plus yards, and that was his career best, wasn't it? And 63 touchdowns as well, wasn't it, or something like that? Um,
Yeah,
he's a
Diggs.
good player, but like I can't believe that player, and maybe it's to do with his age or something. How old is Hopkins?
Hopkins is only 27, I believe. If he, at the latest
27.
28, yeah.
Oh, Diggs is 26, so it's got nothing to do with age.
No, not at all.
Oh my god. I was thinking that, oh
Like
man, maybe it's because he only got a few years
It
left.
just puts the Texans draft into worse perspective. You know what I mean?
It really does. But
Like,
Diggs is do think Diggs is worth what he got because I don't rate Cousins that much, and he had a good season with Cousins. You know what I mean?
yeah,
And to go to the Bills, who's the quarterback at the Bills?
Josh Allen.
Josh Allen. I don't know. I don't know enough to say anything about him, but I say there's gonna like Diggs is a good receiver to have a partnership with. I think really any quarterback. I think he's kind of a well adapted player that can adapt to other quarterbacks pretty well.
Yeah,
And
like the thing about Diggs is he's an excellent route runner. So no matter what
yeah,
system you put him in, he's going to be able to execute a route to, to the highest degree. But with
yeah,
Josh Allen, his problem that's been spoken about, within the media and stuff is his accuracy. Like
yeah,
I don't believe he has an issue with accuracy. I just believe he has an issue with the way he throws the ball. Like
okay,
he's probably the strongest arm quarterback in the league besides Patrick Mahomes. So when he throws the
okay,
ball, he just throws it with 100% force. Like there is no touch, there's no finesse. So he'll often
yeah,
overthrow or just
mhm,
slightly misplace it, but because he throws it so fast, it looks like it's completely a missed throw. And then when you contrast that to Cousins is he's a safe passer. He'll check it down to the running back. He'll check it down to the a hitch route, a flat route, something something easy to hit, something as it goes. But
yeah.
in contrast in styles, I think Stephon Diggs would be happier in Buffalo
Oh,
because
definitely.
Josh Allen is going to take those shots down the field where Kirk
Yeah.
Cousins, his career says that he doesn't tend to take those shots. He's kind of like Derek Carr in
Hmm.
that way. Derek Carr is a very play it safe quarterback. He'll check it down. Alex Smith as well. You can describe him like that as well.
Yeah. And what was also surprising, just like to compare the trades again, is that Hopkins came out of nowhere, and it was just kind of like, what is going on with Diggs? I'm pretty sure it was announced that they didn't want to trade him, or like the GM said that they didn't want to trade him at the start, and then they done it anyways. And I think that I'm not sure what direction they want to go with their team, the Vikings. Obviously, how long is Cousins' contract there now? He put an extension on, didn't he, a
Yeah,
while ago?
I think Cousins signed a 3 year extension recently enough, and that's probably one of the biggest factors
Yeah,
on why they ended up trading Stephon Diggs away because there was reports here and there that Stephon Diggs was very unhappy with Kirk Cousins and
yeah,
even Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is one of those NFL, nice guys. He's a Nick Foles. He's a Kyle Long. He's up there with the good guys in the NFL.
hmm,
But even he was beginning to get frustrated
yeah,
with Cousins' play at the beginning of the last season. And he ended up calling Kirk Cousins
yeah.
out on a radio show, I believe, while Kirk Cousins was there. So,
Oh no,
like
oh man,
it just went to show how
you should never do that.
you can't. Yeah, it was a bad idea, but it wasn't in the same way because after that, Kirk Cousins actually went on a tear.
Yeah,
Like his play completely improved. He started taking those shots downfield.
mm,
But yeah, for I can understand why Stephon Diggs can just in his own mind he's kind of like, no, I can't really do this anymore. It's too frustrating. But
yeah,
just comparing Stephon Diggs' career so far back to DeAndre Hopkins. DeAndre Hopkins has played with so many quarterbacks before he got his grade A day one star in
yeah,
Deshaun Watson. Like
yeah,
if you actually go back and look at who Hopkins played with since he was drafted in 2013, it's crazy. So he played with Matt Schaub, he played with Case Keenum, who ended up being, eventually the Minnesota Vikings starting quarterback, who also played with Stephon Diggs. He also played with Brock Osweiler and Ryan Fitzmagic. Like, he had a revolving door of quarterbacks before he actually, got a good quarterback. And that just makes it even crazier to me that he's been traded, because he finally has that quarterback who's going to take the shots, deliver the ball downfield accurately, precisely. And now he's in Arizona with a second-year quarterback, Kyler Murray.
I kind of cut out halfway through that, so I'm just going to agree that you said everything correct.
All right, cool.
Sorry.
We'll check it in the audio and we'll see what's good.
Just see if it matches up, because I'm just going,
I'm sure it'll work, as long as you're not like, it's fine.
Oh man.
Yeah, and just again, Hopkins was far more important a player in Houston than Stephon Diggs was in
absolutely.
Minnesota. Like, as we said before, there aren't that many weapons in the Texans locker room, and in comparison to the Vikings, they have they have Adam Thielen, who we spoke about, excellent receiver. They have Kyle Rudolph, the tight end, and they also have Dalvin Cook, which is a Pro Bowl caliber running back as well. So it wasn't like he was the only one there that was, capable of making the plays. Whereas the Texans, like I said before, Will Fuller is always injured, and Kenny Stills is an unreliable pass catcher.
Yeah. It's just, with the Vikings, I can see that with this trade they are looking forward to the future, because they got value for the trade. But with the Vikings, is that, I don't know, it's just, man, I never see them doing well no matter what kind of move they do. Like, the only time I've really felt that, like, they had a real good shot was when Peterson was still on the team. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Kirk Cousins, I feel like they shouldn't have him, but I guess there's no one else really at the moment to replace him with, and you wouldn't really want to draft the QB anyway, just because he's there, and I don't know. I don't like the Vikings, man. I'm just going on a pointless rant. I just don't like him.
Yeah, well, Kirk Cousins, he's a safe option. He's not going to lose you games, but he's not going to win you games at the same time. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do. I get that.
We'll just double it back there. And the Vikings, they ended up drafting a wide receiver in the first round, the LSU wide receiver, Justin Jefferson. So they immediately replaced Stephon Diggs with the pick that they gained from the trade to the Bills.
Yeah. Which is good. At least they're not
excellent
losing out on a position now anymore.
Yeah.
And LSU, man, they create really good players.
Yeah, they've been a factory for the last couple of years, and Joe Burrow just came out and he's number one, so
yeah. Oh man, Joe Burrow. Oh.
Yeah.
I wonder how he's gonna fare, but anyway.
Oh look, I'd say he'll be okay. But then we'll move on to the craziest move pretty much of all time. Is the best quarterback of all time moving from the New England Patriots to the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and yet we're talking about Tom Brady.
I thought you were going to say something about Cam Newton.
No, Cam Newton is not the best. Go away.
Oh.
Yeah, we're going to talk about Tom Brady moving to Tampa. And when I first saw this...
ridiculous. I knew he was going to move.
No, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. No, I was like, I knew he was going to move, but I didn't know where. And I thought he was either going to move or retire. And I knew that he said that he wants to play until he's shit at football, basically.
Yeah,
I'm going to say is for quite a long time.
Yeah.
Oh, man, that's ridiculous. But if there's any player to do it, I say it's going to be him. But I knew he was going to move, and I can't remember what the other options were for him. But I didn't expect him to take Tampa Bay out of all the places, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But fair play to Tampa for getting the best QB. Well, arguably the best QB of all time anyway.
Yeah.
And then making a squad around him and everything like that. They're really trying to incorporate him into the team, which is great. and they also got, you know, your man back from the grave, Gronkowski.
Yeah,
Like,
they pulled him out of the grave.
oh, it's ridiculous. And like all for Tampa with the new kits as well, they look like they want to do their old Super Bowl run again. I
Yeah.
mean, I say they can do it. I don't know actually. You know, never mind. Tom Brady. Wow.
Yeah, Tom Brady. And Gronkowski, as we just talked about, he came out of retirement and he said to Bill Belichick, he's like, I'm not playing for the Patriots. I want to go where Tom Brady is. And
Yeah.
in fairness to Bill Belichick, he traded him there.
Yeah. And I say well, he got a guy back from retirement and he got a trade for him, which I think is a plus in the Patriots side as well, because they got something for someone who was retired and didn't want to play for the Patriots anymore. So I think
Exactly.
that's a plus in their books too. It's a win-win for both teams.
Yeah, it is. Because they tried to trade Gronkowski a couple of years ago. They had agreed some terms with the Detroit Lions. But Gronkowski said, I'm not playing for the Detroit Lions. I will retire.
Yeah.
So that trade was absolutely cancelled. So, yeah, like you bring up with that point, they got something out of someone they weren't going to get anything out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just thinking about Tampa Bay there, it's gonna be crazy this year. I don't know if they're gonna win the division, but it's certainly gonna be very, very fun to watch. Like I wasn't old enough to watch football in 2007, but that was the year Brady won MVP and he threw 50 touchdowns.
Yeah.
And he threw
Mental stuff.
I think he threw like 52 or maybe I don't know 46 to 52% of those touchdowns to one player, and that was Randy Moss. And Randy Moss, Hall of Fame legend, one of the greatest receivers of all time. And
Oh yeah.
I can't help but compare the current roster in Tampa Bay to the skills that Randy Moss has. Mike Evans and Chris Godwin, they're both on that team.
I'm back.
I was
sorry, man. I don't know.
It's fine. I thought you heard the end of my sentence, so you were just going to continue on and just talk about what I was talking about.
What did you say? And I'll continue on it now.
I was just comparing, Randy Moss's jump ball ability to that of Chris Godwin and Mike Evans.
Oh, that was it. Okay, cool. Yeah, like what's crazy is that they're really it is a team that's kind of is tailored to Tom Brady, and the fact that Tom Brady doesn't really launch the ball anymore, but when he does get a really good connection. He kind of keeps that as like a trade specialty now. He's a really kind of like short pass, get to that 10-yard mark, at a time. And with the tight end Gronkowski, that's like a really doable thing at Tampa Bay with him. Plus all the other weapons in the arsenal of Tampa Bay right now. Yeah. It really gives Tom Brady a lot of options to choose what kind of passes he needs to do. And he'll be able to get those 10 yards quite easily, I think, in this Tampa Bay formation.
Like, the thing that everyone talks about with Tom Brady, they always say he'll take what the defense gives him. So, whether that's a 4-yard out or, a goal ball down the field, Tom Brady's going to take it because he's going to be able to read your coverage post-snap, see what's happening. He knows his routes. He knows what his receiver is running. If he wants to check it, he has the ability to do so. Like Peyton Manning back in the day, he was able to change plays as he went.
Oh, shit.
Because, these quarterbacks, they study hard. And, Tom Brady's been in the league almost 20 years now. So he has that ability to just look, change,
ridiculous,
audible, and see what happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And, man, just like, to have Tom Brady directing your offense, I mean, you have the greatest quarterback of all time, like, on the decline, I would say, anyway, but I don't think that's, like, a good enough argument to say that Tampa Bay, like, didn't make a good call. He just came from a team for, 20 years, right, with the best coach in the world. He's gonna bring a lot of that to Tampa with him, he's learnt so much over in the Patriots that he's just going to be able to explode all this information out onto the Tampa Bay Bucks and really improve them. I think he's going to make the team a lot better than they actually could be. You know what I mean? I feel like there's going to be a rating that people are going to give them, and they're going to now go past that rating with Tom Brady, if you get what I mean.
Like, he's going to elevate the team to his level.
Yeah.
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 Because last season you seen Jameis Winston, the most hot and cold quarterback I think there's ever been. It's crazy.
Oof.
He threw 30 touchdowns and 30 interceptions last year. The first player ever to do so in the history of the league, which was crazy. And you know, recently, as of yesterday, I think, he signed a 1-year deal with the Saints, which is even crazier because they already have 2 quarterbacks there.
Yeah.
But the thing about Bruce Arians' offense, people say it acts as a second rookie year. So there's so much there that it takes so much time to adjust to it. So with a quarterback like Jameis Winston, who always had those turnover issues, even going back to college, you know, I can see why that was an issue for him in that first year of that Bruce Arians' offense. But I don't think that's going to apply to Brady because he's been in the league so long. He's seen it all at this stage. Like, he's the only player from his draft class that's still around. The last player that was in his draft class to retire was Sebastian Janikowski. He was a kicker who played for the Oakland Raiders and then for the Seahawks, and he recently retired as of like 2 years ago. So he's outlived, you know, entire generations of players. He's played long enough to play with players as dad and his teammates' players at the same time.
Holy shit, you're right. Yeah. I didn't even think of it like that.
Like,
Man.
Tom Brady is old, but he's the best.
Yeah. Oh, man. I was going to make a point as well about Tampa, but I can't remember it now. I might come back to it later and you can slot it in. It was something to do with the bloody structure of the offense again. Anyway, whatever. I'm trying to think really hard because I have it in my head.
What I was going to say next is I was just going to talk about, you know, the legacy battles that's going to occur in the NFC South now. So, like, you have Tampa Bay, you have Tom Brady quarterback and Tampa Bay Buccaneers. But then you have the New Orleans Saints with Drew Brees. And then you have Matt Ryan as well with the Falcons. Like, that's going to be crazy. That's 3 Pro Bowl caliber quarterbacks at this current time in the same division.
Why am
I
so bad?
It's going to stand for a lot for Matt Ryan's career legacy if he can, you know, undo the wrongs of that 28-3 Super Bowl. Like, it's going to give him a much better chance to get in the Hall of Fame if he can end up, you know, smacking Brady around a couple of times.
Oh, yeah.
And the same with Drew Brees. Drew Brees is always kind of passed on as this kind of top 5 quarterback. He's not as good as the others that are around him. But if he can end up beating Brady these couple of times, now that Brady has a stacked roster in Tampa Bay, you know, that's gonna do wonders for his, you know, current perception even.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And like, you know, like I've always rated him just because he is in the NFC, and with a team that I support teams from the NFC, man. Well, I support my team from the NFC, but it's just like I've had to play him twice a year. You know what I mean? And the game is always a tough one when it's Drew Brees, like, pushing the team forward, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And I feel like with this matchup of Tampa and the Saints, it's going to be fun to watch because he's definitely thinking about it too, being like, I can shoot my shot right now and just show that I'm like at the same level, if not even a touch above Brady right now.
And then...
Sorry, I've been holding in that cough for so long.
Yeah, sorry. Cough it out, boy.
Yeah, alright, I'm good. I'm good.
And then, so we talked about the Falcons, the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, and then we talked about a small bit about Drew Brees and the New Orleans Saints. But there's another team in that division, Killian. Your team, the Carolina Panthers. You know, we're going to move on to Cam's Corner here. This is a small segment that we're going to do every podcast. We're just going to check in on Cam Newton, see how he's doing.
I love it.
Our
Nah,
Cam
I
Newton
fucking hate it.
correspondent, of course, Killian Hayward. Take it away, my friend.
Right, so as everyone knows, Cam Newton, the greatest quarterback of all time, and probably the greatest rushing player of all time. You know, the stats are there. I'm not going to argue.
Yeah, the stats are there. I'm sure. I'm sure.
The Panthers released him of his contract, and not even that. It's that they released a statement, a club statement, saying that Cam Newton has requested to seek out a trade. You know, that they weren't even saying that there was a trade confirmed, and they were saying that Cam wanted it. And then underneath that, because I was like, oh fuck, Cam Newton wanted to take Carolina to the Super Bowl. He said that. And he said he wanted to win the Super Bowl at Carolina. He said that too.
Yeah.
And underneath that stupid Instagram post is his cryptic typing message being like, I didn't want this, you are forcing me out, blah blah blah, whatever. And then even Greg Olsen is just like, oh, this seems so familiar, man.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, Kuechly retiring young and early. And I mean, all respect to Kuechly, he knows his own body. He probably doesn't want to get a case of CTE because he's had a good few concussions in like the NFL.
Very true. Very true.
So with Kuechly, like I am upset, but like it was his own choice. Olsen probably wasn't in the same scenario as Cam Newton, but it seems like he was pushed to the side as well. Cam Newton, man, was just kicked out of the Panthers, and the way the club handled it, it's just outrageous. Like, man, like Cam was my guy. Like Cam was my guy, because the way I got into American football is there's a Madden game. It was Madden 2010, and the Panthers were terrible, and I always pick the team that's the underdogs to play at. So I picked the Panthers, and then I decided to watch the game, and I can't remember what year it was, but I know that it was Auburn versus was it Alabama, and Cam led Auburn to a victory, and I can't remember, was it like 30 points down or something like that? And that's when I was like, yo, this is my guy. If I go into the NFL, I'm going to follow to the team that he goes to. And he went to the Panthers, first round pick, and I was like, oh, it's totally meant to be.
Yeah.
I played as the Panthers on Madden, and my favorite guy is going to the Panthers. And the chemistry and the what would you call it? The culture of the club was like just like have fun, go out, have fun, like cool vibes, all that kind of stuff. Especially with Cam leading the pack.
Yeah.
And what's annoying about this Cam, I can't even say trade because they just got rid of him.
It wasn't. It was just
for nothing.
Just a straight release.
Oh, I know, man. And it's a complete cultural rebuild as well as a rebuild of a team. They are looking at McCaffrey being like, this dude is now the face of our franchise, which, good. I love McCaffrey to bits as well. He's a fantastic player. But I liked the way that the Panthers acted and how the Panthers were on the field and off the field and how funny they were and how like upbeat they always were.
Yeah.
And now like all that's gone, and poor Cam, man, he's on a bench somewhere just waiting for a team's bus to pick him up.
Yeah.
I mean,
it's crazy.
I'm so upset. I'm so upset. They did him so dirty, man. Oh.
Yeah, they did. And it's all to do with that culture change that you said, because they do have that new owner in David Tepper. And David Tepper comes in and he says, we're going to evaluate everyone as we go. And this was when the season was still ongoing. Cam Newton at this point, he was out with an injury. I think he was out after game 2 of the season. So they put in Kyle Allen. And Kyle Allen now, he was traded to the Redskins.
That worked out actually. That worked out for the Panthers though, because we got a round pick and we picked someone actually quite good. But yeah, we can talk about that later.
Yeah.
But with Tepper, he's really into all this, I guess, what we just call sports analysis and all this kind of scientific stuff. So he wants to find his guy as the coach. And unfortunately, Riviera was not his guy. So he's gone, and then they bringing in... what's the new guy's name? I don't even know the new guy's name. That's how annoyed I am. Matt Rule. He was he's been to a few college programs before, and he's turned it around incredibly. I mean, he's been at... I can't remember the names, but
it was
he's
Temple,
made that
and then
football.
It was Baylor.
there you go. Two teams that were kind of like, well, not really kinda. They were not good at
Yeah,
football, and he turned it around and made them competitors, which is great. And I'm happy to have him as a coach because I did like Riverboat Ron, but when a coach goes, I'm not as attached to the coach as the players. So
yeah,
with new coach coming in and saying that he wanted to work with Cam and all the players that were there, and then to go back on the word immediately, it's really hit me hard as a Panthers fan because Cam made me a Panthers fan.
yeah,
Kuechly solidified that. Smith solidified that, and Olsen solidified that. And
yeah.
then they're all gone, and like, oh, are we ever going to have a franchise legend? You know what I mean? That was just Panthers.
Yeah.
No, we're not.
Well, yeah.
Never.
Well, Luke Kuechly he retired a Panther, so he will.
Yeah,
go
he
down
retired. Yeah, no, that's true. He is a club
But
legend.
the
I love
thing
Kuechly.
the thing is with that announcement that the Panthers made, they said, "Oh, Cam Newton is free to pursue a trade."
Yeah,
But it was so late in the off-season window and the draft was so
that's.
close that he didn't
Mhm.
really have the opportunity to go seek out a team who wanted him to get those medicals done.
Not
Because
at all.
a large part of why still remains unsigned is due to, his physical limitations. People don't know
Yeah,
whether he can run it anymore. They don't know if he can throw it as effectively as he used to be able to. But
yeah.
not
No, but his Cam season before this last season where he had injury, I'm pretty sure he was en route to have his best season yet, accuracy wise and receptions wise. He was on form, and then he got injured, and that's where you can see where Cam got injured, the whole team crumbled. So I can understand the fact that we need to get more than one great player. I mean, they had McCaffrey too, but obviously Cam carried the team forward. He was the guy. Like in their 2015 run to the Super Bowl,
yeah,
what wide receivers did he have? I like seriously, they they aren't the greatest at all, but he made them, good. Like he
yeah,
was formidable in quarterback and the rushing as well. You had a dual, what's the word? A
dual
dual
threat.
a dual threat quarterback who can rush as well. And
Yeah,
then you had McCaffrey alongside him, who running back and essentially a wide receiver as well, or a slot receiver. You had two dual threats on your team, and you decided to get rid of the one that all the fans loved. And
yeah.
I'm speechless. I'm so upset about it.
Yeah, so now Cam Newton has been replaced by former Saints quarterback,
Yeah,
NFC South rival Teddy Bridgewater. And
yeah,
the thing is with Teddy Bridgewater, he's another one of these check it down, play it safe guys. And
yeah.
I think he averaged about 6 air yards per attempt
Mhm.
last season when he played those 5 games he played with New Orleans. So it's not
Yeah,
going to be an exciting downfield, explosive offense when Bridgewater's at the helm. He's not going to force passes downfield. But they
yeah,
also signed PJ Walker, and PJ Walker is interesting because a few
hmm
years ago he played at Temple under the new coach Matt Rule. But
yeah,
I think he was selected in the draft late rounds by the Colts, and the Colts just didn't see a future with him, so they let him go, they
yeah,
cut him, and he ended up playing in the ill-fated XFL that just recently went into liquidation and will likely not return. But
yeah,
he was the presumptive XFL MVP. Like he played
yeah,
at a very very high level, considering the talent around him.
yeah.
And to me, I'm not so sure if Teddy Bridgewater is going to hold on to that starting job if PJ Walker is in town.
Mm. Yeah, that's the thing is that Cam Newton. Who do we had? We had Cam Newton, we had Kyle Allen, and then I think his name was Helsinki or something like that a while ago. Anyway, and when Cam Newton got injured, there was a big problem at the quarterback position, but with Bridgewater and our XFL signing,
Yeah,
there's kind of like if one goes down, the other one can pick up at the same level. That's how I feel like the situation is going to go. And I feel like there actually might be a lot more rotation than a usual quarterback position would have.
yeah,
Especially, Teddy Bridgewater, he only really came into effect when Drew Brees had an injury, or they were just like, go on, get out there, have a good time.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know what his attitude would be like to conducting a whole team for a whole game will be,
Yeah.
while as our other quarterback signing is used to that, but in an XFL scenario. So it's going to be
Yeah.
interesting how they do it. I would love to see more rotation at quarterback. It'll kind of like spice it up a bit because they both have different kind of, I guess, fundamentals as quarterbacks. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
That's
it's
very,
going to be
very true.
interesting, and I think in the long run it will be a good move because if they want to get rid of either one of them, they're going to have someone of an equal ability to keep and then replace the other guy with.
True.
But
True.
it's just I wanted Cam.
Yeah.
I would love Cam and the XFL guy. What's his name again?
PJ Walker.
Yeah, I would love him as the backup for Cam.
Yeah.
That's what I would have loved.
All right.
But again, it's cultural change.
Yes. So because of this cultural change, Cam Newton is out. What do you, as a Cam Newton fan, see as the best scenario for Cam Newton?
Well, when I heard that Rivers was gone from the Chargers, I thought Chargers was a perfect spot for him because not only are they moving, well, yeah, they are moving into the new stadium at the moment. They've released their new kits, they've released their new logo, and they've touched up everything. They're kind of not on a rebrand; they're kind of solidifying their brand at the moment. And to have a character like Cam on that team, because Panthers before Cam, like, who knew them? Well, like, who knew them? Like, obviously, a lot of people knew of the team, but I don't think it was internationally known.
Yeah, they weren't as relevant as they were with Cam.
Exactly, and like, no offense to Rivers, like he's a great quarterback and he's a great character as well. But man, was he just a rock in like behind the line? Like he never moved. He just threw the ball. Like you couldn't. He was a very solid player. But
Yeah.
Cam's like an exciting player, and with their culture that they're kind of going for, because I've kind of gotten into the Chargers just a little bit more during the off-season
Yeah.
because I thought Cam was going to go to them. A lot of their players have this really fun attitude and reminds me of that 2015 Panthers vibe. So I
Yeah.
thought that the Chargers would have been perfect for him to go to really solidify the Chargers spot in LA.
Yeah.
Because of the Rams as well, but I feel like it's going to be a more competitive area now with that new stadium for the Chargers.
Yeah.
But
Like with Cam Newton going to the Chargers, it's probably not going to happen now that they drafted Justin
No.
Herbert. But because they're moving into that new stadium in LA, you need that day one seat filler quarterback, exciting talent on the field, and
yes, absolutely.
You just don't have it in not San Diego, in LA. I'm always gonna call them the San Diego Chargers, but the LA Chargers. You don't have that. You don't have that talent now. You have Tyrod Taylor, and you have a kind of exciting quarterback prospect, because that's what he is. He's a prospect.
That's
Justin
how
Herbert.
I feel about it.
But if I was gonna say San Diego again, if the LA Chargers wanted that that immediate spark, they would have signed Cam Newton to get that fan base going, get people in the seats, season ticket holder fans, all that stuff. But they decided to move in a different direction.
Yeah.
And then I thought, hell, maybe the Colts will give him a shot. But then they ended up drafting a late quarterback in the draft, Jacob Eason from Washington State. So that just completely ruled that out as well. But my last option was actually I have two last options. I had the Pittsburgh Steelers as one option and the New Orleans Saints as the other. But I formed this New Orleans Saints opinion before Jameis Winston signed that 1-year deal.
Yeah.
Because don't get me wrong, Taysom Hill seems to be a great player in his own right, but he's not a franchise quarterback guy. And everyone who's always in support of this, Taysom Hill, he's the guy. I just don't see it, and they always point towards that wildcard NFC game. Like this entire offseason, that's what they all point to against the Vikings. And I'm just going to read off the stat line from that game in relation to Taysom Hill. So he threw one pass for 50 yards. 2 rushes for 25, and he had 2 receptions for 25 yards as well.
Uh-huh.
And like when you look at that, that's 100 total yards, and I think he was on the field for about 6 or 7 snaps. So
Yeah.
that's phenomenal. And people will always
Mhm.
say he was the best player on the field that game, and he was.
Yeah.
I'm not going to disagree with that. He was fantastic. But as a quarterback, you can't make receptions. You're not going to throw yourself the ball. So that's something I always look at with Taysom Hill, and I'm like, that's completely out of the equation now. Like you can't rate him because he can catch a ball. And then another thing as well with rushing, like him as a quarterback, he's not a Lamar Jackson, he's not a Russell Wilson, he's not evasive. He's a bigger guy,
Yeah.
and he runs stronger. He runs like a big fullback. And that's fine. That's perfect for when he's in a Wildcat offense. Like in a Wildcat offense, they do not stack the boxes. So you're not going to have, those 2 linebackers or 3 linebackers up on the line just behind the defensive line. Like you're not going to be able to run the ball as effectively. And while I do believe in Sean Payton's ability to, scheme runs and this, that, and the other, it's not his strong suit. So then you move on to the passing. Like, do I believe in his ability to pass the ball consistently? No, I don't. Like that one pass for 50 yards against the Vikings, I think it was like a cover 1 whole look, and the safety Anthony Harris, he was drawn off by a good route on the far side of the field, so he was taken out of the equation completely. And the cornerback that was covering, I can't remember the player who received the touchdown. No, it wasn't a touchdown, it was just a 50-yard pass, but it made it to like the 2-yard line or something. He caught the ball, but it was because he completely burnt Xavier Rhodes. And Xavier Rhodes, he came under serious criticism the entire season. Like he was poor. He was not a good cornerback this season.
Yeah.
And he blamed it immediately on Harrison Smith, the strong safety. But Harrison Smith, he didn't play that play very well. He played far too close to the line, as he tends to do. But he was supposed to, not cover the deep ball, but pick up on anyone who was going deep if Anthony Harris dropped. So Taysom Hill makes one good pass, and the whole world went crazy about thinking he's a franchise quarterback, which I just don't agree with.
No, yeah, I'm on the same boat with you. Is that like you can argue that like he's had great games, like oh my god, like look at the stats that he's like achieved.
Yeah.
But you can also look at it where it's kind of like, yeah, but did you see what he was against at that time?
Yeah.
Like that kind of thing.
Yeah. Like I read a stat the other day. Jameis Winston has completed more passes to New Orleans Saints than Taysom Hill has. And Taysom Hill has been there almost 3 years.
Yeah.
Like Jameis Winston threw more interceptions than Taysom Hill has completed passes, which is crazy. And then people are believing him as, the franchise guy. He's actually really old as well. He's 29 years old, and that's old for a quarterback to be taking the starting position. It is. But to me, he's just Tim Tebow. He's Tim Tebow, bit stronger, better arm, better throwing mechanics, in fairness to him. But Tim Tebow, to me, he's a poor man's Cam Newton. So why not just sign Cam Newton?
Yeah, and with the thing with how I always will compare a QB with Cam Newton is that he is a great player on the field when he's healthy. He does take his job seriously. Like the dieting and the exercising that he does is just phenomenal. And well, Cam's 30, isn't he? He's 30 or 31.
I think he's 31. Yeah.
Yeah, and he's 6 foot something and like 3% body fat. He's an absolute machine. Yeah. But with that, he's an absolute personality, and he's really smart as well at the same time. So I'll always be biased to Cam. That's just my thing. Even when he's not with the Panthers anymore, and if we ever play against him, I will root for Cam and not the Panthers, just because he's my introduction to the NFL. Yeah. He'll always be a great for me. Yeah. I would take him over any quarterback, but especially when it comes into the situation that we're talking about, I'd 100% take Cam Newton all the time.
Yeah, that's true. That's the way I feel about Russell Wilson sometimes. Russell Wilson is my guy. He's my favorite player. He's going to be my all-time favorite player. But just going back to the Cam Newton to the Saints and why
Yeah,
it would
yeah,
make sense. Like Sean
yeah.
Payton is probably the best offensive mind in the league, bar
Hmm.
maybe Andy Reid. But he can scheme open anyone. He can design any type of run. And like
Yeah.
with Cam Newton, as opposed to Taysom Hill, you have a bigger player who can rush
Hmm.
harder, throw
Hmm.
stronger, act more accurate. Like he's just an upgrade on Taysom Hill. And
Yeah.
you hear these reports. Sean Payton is completely infatuated with Taysom Hill as a player and what he can do. Cam Newton does the exact same thing, but just better, and it's just something that nobody is talking about. And while Taysom Hill, in fairness to him, he's getting all the love he deserves. But I
Yeah.
think Cam Newton is just a better option if that's what you want to approach. If that's the way you want to approach this new offense, Cam Newton is just a
Yeah.
better version of Taysom Hill.
What I will say about the offensive line as well is that it's a hell of a lot better than what Carolina's has ever been. Well, since I've been watching anyway.
Very
Cam
true.
Newton was always under pressure. That's why he was such a good escape artist. Really, he could get out of getting bloody sacked and all that kind of stuff fairly easy, and then he can make yards as well because he's big, he's tall, like
Yeah,
he's taller than most O line and D line players, so he can just find a gap and go and put his shoulders down and go for it. But with a strong, structured O line in front of him, I feel like Cam would excel a lot more than what has been seen, especially with his last season with more than just a few games.
yeah,
He was on the up. He was improving, and if anything, I feel like he's been improving even more now, so that he's got nothing else to do but watch film and train hard and recover that injury. So,
yeah,
I feel like if you put a protective O line in front of him, you're going to have a great quarterback that doesn't have to worry about getting injured again. Do you know what
yeah,
I mean? Because I feel like that's always there in the back of your head. Because with a QB, if you're an injured QB, you're kind of useless because
yeah.
you need a QB that's on form, like 100% healthy, to even like throw your offense forward. So with Cam Newton, obviously, I don't even know what his health is like at the moment. I don't even know if he's like fully recovered from the injury, but I know he's working hard
Yeah.
on himself anyway. So I would take the risk with Cam with a strong O line any day.
Well said. Well said.
Thank you. Cam's the best.
Cam, yeah, go Cam, says Killian. Um,
Another place that I was going to say was the Jaguars.
the Jaguars.
I like I the more and more I think about it, I do think that Jaguars would be a cool place for him to go. But like obviously you have Nick Foles there, right?
No, you did have Nick Foles. Nick Foles got traded to
He's
the
gone.
Bears. Yeah, he's gone. It's
Uh,
Gardner Minshew. I think he was a sixth round draft pick last year, who stepped into
okay.
the offense, created that spark. But yeah, he's there at the moment, and it just kind of seems that they're in a rebuilding mode. But just to go on to
Hmm.
Nick Foles there,
Yeah.
he was traded to the Bears,
Yeah.
and the Bears quarterback situation, it's been shaky for 2 years now, which is it's sad.
Trubisky, isn't it?
It's really sad. Mitchell Trubisky, I always feel for the guy because he was taken number 2 overall in the same draft as
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson. And
Yeah.
I just always feel terrible for him because Patrick Mahomes and Deshaun Watson, they are the next generation of great quarterback, and he was drafted
Oh yeah.
before them. So he's
Yeah.
always going to receive, criticism. He's always under that
Mm.
spotlight because he's always going to be compared to these other fantastic early developing quarterbacks, which is it's sad. It's really sad. Like he didn't ask to be drafted there. He just was. Like if he went in the third round or the second round,
Yeah.
I don't think people would care. It's just because, if the Bears
No,
drafted
not at
Patrick
all.
Mahomes, they would have won maybe 2 Super Bowls. If they drafted Deshaun Watson, they could have won 1 Super Bowl because Matt Nagy won Coach of the Year with
Yeah.
Trubisky at quarterback. So imagine what he could have done and could have won with a better quarterback. And just going to Nick Foles. Nick Foles was traded to the Bears, and I'm not sure if he was traded there to be the guy, the starter, or if he was traded there to be the mentor to Mitchell Trubisky. And for I don't really have an opinion on Mitchell Trubisky other than just feeling bad for him. Like he he hasn't played well, but like I think he's a nice guy and like he deserves the criticism he gets. He's developed really slowly as a quarterback. But Nick Foles, you know, again, he's another one of these all-time nice guys. And he's gonna sit in the role like he helped Gardner Minshew last year, although Gardner Minshew took his job effectively.
Yeah.
Like, if he can just help Trubisky just play at a better level, like I think, I don't know. What's your opinion, man?
Like what you're saying there, I do feel bad for Trubisky just because I feel like, well, like I don't watch the Bears enough to have an informed opinion about Trubisky, but
Yeah.
I feel like he's on the up, and like you said, he sounds like just a sound person. You know what I mean? He just sounds like a good lad overall.
Yeah,
But
just a top class good lad.
yeah, but with Foles coming in, there's definitely going to be a lot of pressure on him and Foles as well because I'll be honest, I rate them probably the same. Like
Yeah, like
maybe Foles better, I would say, but they're near enough around the same quality.
yeah.
But I feel like wasn't it Trubisky struggles with the playbook?
Yeah, so like Matt Nagy, like I mentioned there, he won Coach of the Year, and he is like, he's an offensive minded coach, and you know these offensive minded coaches they could have a crazy extensive playbook. So like this thing could be like 500, 600 plays deep, like, and there was reports earlier in this current season, the season just passed, that Matt Nagy had to condense the playbook because Mitchell Trubisky couldn't process it all.
Yeah.
And that's just another one of Trubisky's flaws, unfortunately. Like, they should have known this pre-draft that he couldn't absorb the offense like he does now. And with Nick Foles, you have a willing learner. He's always ready to learn. He's willing to learn. He's capable of learning the system and executing the system at a high level.
Yeah.
So it's just bringing back that point again. Can Nick Foles mentor the offense to Trubisky, or will he just take over because he can run it better? And will we see the Chicago Bears, you know, at their full potential? You know what I mean?
Yeah, I feel like Foles is going to take full advantage of the situation and take charge of the Bears. Because, I mean, he went from Philly winning the Super Bowl down to Jaguars and then down to Bears. I'm not saying like down as in quality. I just mean he's just been from someone who's helped win a Super Bowl, just be dotted around. You know, I feel like he wants to grab a team and just make it his own, especially when you can take advantage of a quarterback that is struggling, or I wouldn't say struggling, just can't process the offensive book.
Just not living up to his full potential, really.
Exactly. I think you're going to have an easy grab of becoming a likable quarterback to the fans, and like the Bears are diehard fans.
Yeah.
You know, so I say he's just going to take full advantage of it and try, as hard as mean as it sounds, just get rid of Trubisky, unfortunately, and put him in a position where they're going to have to move on from him.
Yeah, like it's sad because like I never want to see a player fail in the NFL.
No.
Like anytime a player enters in the draft, whether you know they're a likable guy or not, I never want to see them fail and crash and burn. But it'd be hard for me to say that Trubisky hasn't crashed, and you know that fire is starting.
Like that is true though. So well, I think the Bears made a good decision on getting Foles anyway. I think that they needed someone that could take their playbook and utilize it to its full capabilities. And I feel like with a quarterback like Foles, not that like I rate him as a great quarterback, he's a good quarterback, but he knows the plays. I would assume that he would be able to know the plays. So I feel like the Bears are just going to have a nice test run with Foles in the preseason and with Trubisky, and then after that, whoever learned it the best is just going to...
It's more likely going to be an open competition for the starting position. Which is what it should be, and that's what it will be. with
Yeah.
Nick Foles likely winning that position.
Yeah, I bet it also depends. Like I'm just looking at it from a business standpoint. Is that they're just going to look at the jersey sales, and if Foles sells more jerseys than Trubisky, they're going to be like, "Well, we're just going to keep this guy."
Maybe. Um, yeah. So Mitch Trubisky not going to make any all-decade teams this new decade, 2020 to
No.
2030. But
Mhm.
the reaction to the 2010 all-decade teams, they've
Yeah.
been pretty interesting to read, talk about.
Yeah,
Um,
no, let's get into that because I like I like the general team. I don't really have like massive disagreements. I could put arguments up for other players, but at the same time, I don't even know half these players, man, because I don't know any centers, man, other than the Carolina Panthers one. I don't know
yeah,
any of
I
these kind of
get you, I
players.
get you, I get you. Um, yeah, so like to me, there was a few unanimous decisions. So there was players that
Oh yeah,
whoever voted on this, they were 50 for 50 votes. They were definitely in the team. And I'm just gonna read those off there, just
absolutely.
because I
Yeah,
don't disagree with this either. So one of the unanimous decisions, I'm just gonna go through the offense first. It was Tom Brady, like we've discussed,
yeah,
greatest quarterback of all time. Adrian Peterson was also another. He
yeah.
was phenomenal this
I think
past
that
decade.
comeback story from his injury is probably one of the greatest NFL stories there is. I really rate him. I
It is.
really
It
rate
is.
him.
He was a great player, and he still functions in a dysfunctional franchise in the Washington
Yeah, he's
Redskins.
in. Isn't he Redskins? Yes. So hopefully, he can get a ring, but he probably won't. He
Yeah,
deserves one though.
yeah. He does. He does. And then we move on to the offensive line with Joe Thomas, the former Cleveland Browns offensive tackle. He
Yeah,
was, trust me, he was actually fantastic in a terrible, terrible franchise for years and years. He was the
yeah,
only standout player for the Cleveland Browns. And then
yeah.
there was the recently retired Marshall Yonda, the offensive guard who played his entire career for the Baltimore Ravens.
Steelers. What?
Oh, you
No,
you
no,
messed that up.
no, no. It's Marquise or something like that. Sorry, I
Yeah,
misheard you. The
Marquise
center,
Pouncey.
the center.
He's the center for
Yeah.
the Pittsburgh Steelers.
See, I told you, I just don't know enough about
Yeah.
these players.
Yeah. So those were the unanimous decisions on offense, and I couldn't disagree. All fantastic
Yeah.
players in their own right. And then
Mhm.
we're just going to move quickly on to the defense. So we have defensive end J.J. Watt, unanimous decision.
Oh, 100%. He had to
I
be
think he's
there.
like 3-time defensive player of the year, and there was
Yeah.
an MVP shout there one year, and I think he was
Mhm.
completely snubbed. I remember reading about it.
What year was
And
that?
no, don't ask me, man. I don't know.
I'm trying to catch it real quick here. No, it doesn't say anything.
Yeah,
I was
and
gonna
then there
say if it was
was
the year that Cam got MVP, then nah, he didn't get snubbed.
okay. Calm down with your Cam Newton talk. Is he on this team?
Okay.
No, he's not. But
Personality wise, he should be there.
okay. In the top 10 team of the decade personality, Cam Newton could be starting quarterback. And then we
Boom.
had Aaron Donald. Without a doubt,
I love him. I rate him.
yeah, he's a fantastic, fantastic interior defensive lineman. And
Yeah.
then Von Miller, he
Oh,
ended the. Yeah, talk about Von Miller there, buddy.
Von Miller, he is a great linebacker, but I don't think he should be on this list just because of the fact I don't like him.
Oh, why
Like I
why
rate
don't you
him a
like him?
lot. I rate him a lot. Like he took one of the most incredible offenses. They went. What did they do? They went 15-1, didn't they? And then went
Yeah,
to
I
the
think
Super
something like
Bowl.
that.
The Panthers, obviously, and exciting, awesome uh, offense, and he just shook it up and made it his own. We couldn't do anything in that Super Bowl, and the main reason is because of Von Miller. He deserves to be a unanimous
Yeah,
decision because personally, I think he's up there with the greatest linebackers of all time. By a big shout as well. Like he's not just like kind of peeking into the best linebackers of all time. He's like up there, man. Like I rate him. I rate
yeah,
him, but
he's up there. He's up
I
there.
don't like him.
Yeah, like the image that when I think of Von Miller, the only thing I think of is him slapping the ball out of Cam Newton's hand and Cam
Yeah,
Newton not jumping on
not
the
going
ball.
for it.
Yeah, that must have broke your heart.
It did. Because
Oh,
you know what? That was my leaving cert year, and I had a really important test in school, not the actual leaving cert.
yeah.
But this was like to decide if I was staying up in higher level or going down to lower level. And I
Yeah.
stayed up to watch that. And
Yeah.
I came into school the next day, massive bags under my eyes, nearly
Depressed.
about to break down and cry. And I just did not touch that exam at all. I was just like in my head thinking about that. Whoa, sat, whoa.
Yeah. And then
God damn it.
yeah, so and then one of the two coaches that are included in this all decade team, was Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
And Bill Belichick, the best coach of
He
all
deserves
time.
it to be in there, 100%.
He surely
Best
does.
coach of all time.
He's probably the greatest general manager of all time as well, because
Yeah,
he pretty much runs the Patriots, the greatest
yeah,
dynasty of
he
all time.
does, man. You know, what's interesting is like, I was always thinking like, oh, what happens if Tom Brady leaves? It's like it'll still be in good hands with him.
Yeah,
What happens if he leaves?
the
Are they going to
Patriots
become
would,
irrelevant again? You know what I mean? Because before these two like phenomenal people to do with American football joined the Patriots, I don't think it was they were big at all. Like obviously I don't know anything before 2000, but whatever.
yeah.
That's what I'm going to say.
All right, cool. So just looking through the rest of that team, and I'm a quarterbacks guy. I love
Yeah.
the quarterback position. I love it. I love everything to do with it. It's the most interesting position to me. And I see Aaron Rodgers here, and he's the second of the two quarterbacks that are included on this team. And while I don't disagree that he should be on the team, he should. He's a
I
great...
disagree.
You disagree?
Well, yeah. I rate more people over Rodgers than
Are you
yeah.
Are you going to go on another Cam Newton spiel?
No, I'm not going to say Cam Newton deserves to be in this list because he absolutely doesn't. But I'm just saying, like Rodgers, he won one Super Bowl, and I'm not saying that Super Bowls mean that you get on this list because obviously there's players that just play their absolute talent and they could be on shit teams. You know what I mean? But I don't know. Like it's one of those iffy things. I would have preferred to see Russell Wilson on it. Your guy.
That's my guy.
But yeah, that is your guy, and I'm saying Russell Wilson. I think he should have been ahead, but that could just be a personal biased opinion, man. But that's all I am.
Yeah, to me, I would have Russell Wilson on this list, on this team, because I'm incredibly biased and I love that man. But there is other arguments to be made for other quarterbacks. Like as spoken before, we talked about Drew Brees. Drew Brees is the all-time passing yardage leader and touchdown leader at this moment in time. He is the best in those categories, which is crazy. And he was not included in this list. Did you know that Drew Brees is the only quarterback to have multiple 5,000-yard seasons? Like that's crazy. Like Tom Brady's never done it.
I didn't know that.
Manning's never done it. Like it's actually crazy. And he did. I think he has 5 of those. He has 5 seasons where he's thrown for over 5,000 yards, and 4 of those seasons have come within this decade. And he won a Super Bowl within the last decade. I think it was like 2009 that he won. But yeah, he deserves a shout, and if not, the shout on this team. But Peyton Manning is there as well. He had the greatest statistical season all time for a quarterback in touchdowns and yardage. He did as much as a quarterback can do, and he also won a Super Bowl within that time as well with the Denver Broncos over your Carolina Panthers, I believe. And
thank you.
Like he threw 55
he bet our
touchdowns
Panthers good.
Yeah.
No, I you know what? Like Peyton Manning is one of those people where I'm thinking that he had that amazing season with I can't remember who it was. Did you just say that there? The that wide receiver for the most receiving yards?
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know. Like Manning is just maybe it's just because I lost against him in the final, but whatever.
Yeah.
I would put Manning on the same level as Rodgers.
Yeah, he
Boom.
retired
Especially
early
for the
in
2010
this decade.
decade.
He retired early. That's kind of what's, that I can see why he wasn't included, because he did retire in like 2015 or something. But
Yeah.
Drew Brees, I was just comparing his postseason record to Aaron Rodgers' postseason record.
Yeah.
And Drew Brees is 8-8, so he's a 500 quarterback since joining New Orleans. And Aaron Rodgers is a
Uh-huh.
10-8, so he's just above 500.
Mm-hmm.
And like with this postseason thing, if they're gonna include that, like you can look at Joe Flacco. Like Joe Flacco, formerly of the Denver Broncos, now he was released recently enough. He's 10-5. He has a better record than the both of them. So you can't really include that. But if you like, it's all subjective and down to perception. Because if you want to include Aaron Rodgers, yeah, you can look at his passer rating, like his flashy passer rating, and touchdown to interception ratio. Like they're both fantastic. I think they're all time great as well. But it's crazy because I was looking at the wins in this span in the decade as well. Brady leads the pack of wins, including the playoffs. He has 138. Rodgers is second up with 106. Then it's Breeze at 99, and then it's Russell Wilson at 95. But the crazy thing about Russell Wilson's wins is he was drafted in 2012, so he has 2 years less, 16 regular season games by 2 less than all these players, including the postseason as well. So he had that opportunity. If he was drafted, earlier, I'm not saying he should have been, because he wasn't eligible, but it's crazy to put into perspective that he has 95 wins in the span of 8 years, while these guys only have 99 and 106 within 10 years. Like, that's crazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
but that's what I mean, man. I disagree with Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers. I disagree with Rodgers being there. Yeah. But again, it is to do with perspective, and like I don't know who done the list up, to be honest. But Rodgers was one of those controversial. I think the second QB was always going to be a controversial point because Tom Brady was going to smack that top one, but the second,
of course,
it should be Wilson. It really should be. And like all respect to Rodgers, like you took over from Brett Favre, you did good.
Yeah.
But I mean, at the same time, Wilson has just been phenomenal for a long time.
Yeah, like he is criminally underrated, but just one thing I wanted to say to you, isn't it absolutely crazy that the Green Bay Packers had Brett Favre and went to Aaron Rodgers, and they've only won 2 Super Bowls in that time?
Yeah,
isn't that insane?
It's ridiculous.
Like Tom Brady has won 3 of the last 10 Super Bowls in this decade.
Yeah,
like that's insane.
And you know what's funny? It looks like they're doing the same thing of what they did to Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers. Because Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers are at the same age.
Yeah, it's
when
crazy.
They drafted a new young QB.
Yeah, Jordan Love,
watch
Utah
out, Aaron
State.
Rodgers.
Like that's crazy. We'll talk about that in another episode. But yeah, that's insane.
Yeah.
just to wrap things up there as the last point of the very first Undrafted Opinions podcast, I just wanted to talk about the coaching decision to include Pete Carroll. Now, Pete Carroll is the Seahawks head coach, and he's a great guy, great coach. But me as a Seahawks fan, I 100% have to disagree with his inclusion. Because Pete Carroll, although he is that rile the troops type of coach, he just hasn't got it done in the last couple of years. Yes, he did win that Super Bowl with Russell Wilson, but he also lost the very next one with one decision.
Yeah.
Like when the Seahawks got to the 1-yard line against the New England Patriots, there was a pass play called by Pete Carroll. He put the ball in the hands of Russell Wilson, and we all know what happened next. The Malcolm Butler interception, boom, Seahawks, whatever dynasty was coming, it's over. It's over there. Yeah. And everyone always talks about not running the ball with Marshawn Lynch. Like, if you lose the Super Bowl because Marshawn Lynch can't take the ball 1 yard, fair enough. Like, fair enough. And, you know, I don't even put this blame too heavily on Russell Wilson's shoulders, because at the time, this was his 3rd year in the league. He was still very new. Like, if you look at the quarterbacks now that are in their 3rd year, like Josh Allen, Sam Darnold, like all these guys, Baker Mayfield, like, I wouldn't expect them to win a Super Bowl by themselves either. So I don't put it all on Russell Wilson. But, that's one reason why I don't think he should be included. And then just, even recently enough, like, he's a defensive coach. So you think, like, a defensive coach would have an excellent defense. But that just hasn't been the case recently. Like, earlier this year, in the season opener, I watched Andy Dalton absolutely tear the Seahawks defense up for like 414 yards. That's the most Andy Dalton ever threw for his entire career. And that was the Cincinnati Bengals. The Cincinnati Bengals were the
what's
first
wrong with
pick
Bengals, huh?
They were the first pick in the draft. Like, they were terrible this year. And you have that team absolutely tearing up your defense. Like, I just, like, it was good with the Legion of Boom. It was peak defense. It was as good as defense can get. But he just hasn't put up a good one since. You know what I mean?
Yeah. But who would you put instead? Like, I have 2 people that I would throw in, but like, who would you put up there with?
Like, I talked about Sean Payton earlier in the podcast, and it's just his ability to scheme people open. Like, you see Drew Brees with these 5,000-yard seasons, and who makes those plays? That's Sean Payton. Sean Payton draws those things up, and of course, you know, Drew Brees is going to execute because he's a all-time great quarterback. But, you know, that's an all-time great scheme as well. Like, you saw Michael Thomas this year break a single season, I think, of receptions. Like, that's all scheme. That's not just Drew Brees feeding them the ball. That's Michael Thomas being open because of a scheme. Like, to me, it should have been Sean Payton, but who was your pick?
Riverboat Ron.
Oh, get out of here, Riverboat Ron.
No. I'll give you my serious answer. I would honestly say, Big Red Andy Reid. I would say him. Like, I'd actually give him a shout.
The Big Mormon.
Yeah. Yeah, the regular season record of 96 wins to 61 losses took the Kansas City to the, well, he had Patrick Mahomes and a great team, obviously, but he took them to the Super Bowl. He has a postseason record of 5-6, I'm pretty sure. I just think that, you know, he's a great coach to turn around a team. And, he's just so big, man. Like, you got to give him some love. Everyone knows that there's 2 rules in the NFL. The bigger the coach, the better the coach. The bigger the head of a QB, the better the QB. There you go. Those are just the facts.
I got to learn those rules.
Why do you think Peyton Manning's so good? His head grew like 2 inches every year.
His forehead was huge, man. Huge.
It's ridiculous.
Just to finish up now. Just because you included Andy Reid. I read that Andy Reid, after he won the AFC Championship, they said to him, "Oh, how are you going to celebrate?" And he says,
"Burger, wasn't it?"
"Yeah, I'm gonna go home and I'm gonna have a cheeseburger." And the reporter goes, "What? Really?" And he goes, "Maybe 2." And like, it's just, he just seems like a nice guy, and again, another offensive genius. So, is there anything else you want to say just before we wrap up?
I don't know. Like, I was just going to say, like, who do you think got snubbed? But to be honest, like, I don't know too much about a lot of other players, like, to compete for places. Andy Reid, I would have put a big shout. Aaron Rodgers, I said, should have been replaced by Drew Brees or Russell Wilson, either of those 2. That's all I have for the 100-year team. No, the 2010s all-decade team. Also, bloody Luke Kuechly deserves to be there. You know what I mean?
He does deserve to be there, and he is there.
Big up, Luke.
Big up, Luke. Big up, Bobby. Bobby Wagner, of course. And so that's it for the very first episode of the Undrafted Opinions podcast. If you've enjoyed listening, you know, share it around, let people know. Fans of the NFL, fans of college football, I suppose. Anyone. This is a podcast for anyone. We're going to speak our mind, going to have a bit of fun doing it at the same time, and we hope you enjoyed listening, and thanks.
Do I say goodbye too, or do we just, is it just you who says goodbye?
No, you go ahead.
Alright, yeah, so I get to say goodbye too. Alright, so, thanks for listening, guys. What Doran said. As you know, Doran's the facts guy. He actually knows football. I'm the emotional opinions guy, so that's how we're rolling with this scenario.
And we're a damn good team.
Yeah.
Alright.
Big up our teams.
Big up the Undrafted Opinions podcast. Big up the audience of one person. Let's see how far we can take this thing. Alright.
Yeah. Awesome. Alright, peace.